It's
This
almost
is
like you want the losing quarterback, though, in some
you
ways.
do. But at the same time, you don't, because the losing quarterback in the Chargers and Texas game didn't do anything at all. So you most definitely go Stroud tonight.
So this is where we're going to have to sprinkle in somebody. You're going to have to balance it with, at least in one of the weeks, with an NFC quarterback. And the reason why is like you can leave Goff all the way if you think he's going to the Super Bowl. You would have to, right? So we'll
Mm-mm.
just say we leave Goff off.
Uh,
Well,
mm-mm. I use golf against the Rams. I use golf the first game for sure. I'm using golf that first game. Yeah, golf versus the Rams. That's the I'm going golf.
and then okay, so okay, that will at least buy you. That'll solve the Mahomes thing.
Because I'm
And
going Jaden Daniels this week. I go Jaden Daniels first, golf second.
yeah, I'm with you on Jaden Daniels this week. I'm actually, that's real life. That is happening right now.
Hmm. But I feel like
Interesting.
golf gonna make it to the Super Bowl. But it's like I feel like golf is gonna score his most points against the Rams. Like I knew he's gonna get his points in the Super Bowl, but I just feel like golf is gonna be the one to get a majority of the points you're looking for against the Rams because he's always consistently showed out against the Rams since he's been here in Detroit. So it's like versus the Rams, like golf is almost automatic.
Mm.
But that's just me going back to, like I said, looking at the teams they're playing versus if you're gonna make it to the Super Bowl or not. I'm thinking of it differently. I'm thinking of it, who are you gonna play better against? Because that's where I'm gonna use you. I'm gonna use you against the team you're gonna play better against.
So initially, it's funny you say that because I was going back and forth, right? The two that were like no doubters in my mind, and Stroud came up briefly, right? But I should have. I just didn't. Um, and again, I didn't think about that till I had the other guys in mind. So Bo Nix, and then I went with Daniels instead. But part of me thought similar to you about Stafford, and then I said the same thing that I'm like, wait a minute, him against the Lions sounds great to me, only because of how the Lions historically have done defensively. And not to say that, oh, the Lions wouldn't win the game. I believe they would. But I would prefer to wait to use Goff or we'll say Mahomes until the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but golf is gonna score a majority of his points against the Rams.
So you have to save at least one of them then, because you're going to have to go the opposite direction.
I'd have to use Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl and use golf versus the Rams. Because I'm not gonna miss those points that golf is gonna put up against the Rams. Because I would feel like horrible if I save golf for the Super Bowl and he only gets one touchdown. We win, but he only gets like one touchdown, a couple hundred yards. Whereas against the Rams, he might throw three touchdowns, 300 yards. Like that's points. I'm getting all my points right now, so that way I don't have to worry about it later on down the line. At this point, you got to catch me. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to outscore you as early as possible.
You know what, Doctor? That is a fantastic point. That is really what this thing is all about. One of the biggest strategy takeaways that I've learned is this is like when we do bull pick'ems, right? And there's all those early, the tax bowl and the cannabis bowl and all these others.
Facts.
Um,
The OG Larry Bowl, like
so those are the ones that you really want to kind of establish a lead in because towards the end here, no different than our national championship coming up in just a few short days, we're going to end up where it's in this case, I would say the heavy majority would be on in this case Ohio State. So if you needed points, you're not going to get them there.
mm-mm.
And so I think that's a great one of the largest takeaways that we could probably educate a lot of people out there right now is that you're right. He's absolutely right, folks. You want to establish a lead. And so I was actually going to ask you, would this have been the best week to use Derrick Henry?
Probably, because now I've gotten so many points. At the end of the game, I might be 20, 30 points ahead of you. So now when we start next week, guess what? You have to score at least 30 to catch me. That's just to catch me. You can put in your best player and they can score 40, but guess what? It only amounts to 10 because you already started off 30 behind. So now you only got 10 points on me, and I still got all these people I got to play. So guess what? You're playing from behind. So unless somebody goes off, and I highly doubt that happens because that's not playoff football. You don't see people scoring 50, 60 points as far as the fantasy aspect like you do in the regular season. So now you have to catch me. You have to pray that your quarterback or your running back or whoever you got out there goes off enough for you to make up those points that you were behind. So yeah, I don't mind playing ahead of I don't mind playing my big guns first because that just means you have to play catch up. That means you're gonna be pressed now. Now you're sweating bullets up to the middle of the night, deciding who am I gonna start, who am I gonna sit. When I'm sitting at home sleeping, dreaming about the game that I just went off on. I got a nice comfortable lead. You gotta catch me. I'm not worried about nothing. I got 30 points on you. What are you gonna do next week? That's the question. It ain't no longer what I'm gonna do. It comes down to what are you gonna do to catch up to me? Me, what am I gonna do to maintain this lead? That's not that big of a threat. What are you gonna do to catch me? That's the worst situation to be put in. Playing catch up in the playoffs is always the worst.
Yeah, I mean that's man, oh man. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be something fun that I do annually now. I can tell. But I think you're right, and it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out because I think if you had taken Derrick Henry, who's at 155 yards and two
And two
touchdowns,
tutties.
oh, dude.
You got Derrick Henry. Everybody's playing catch up on you right now.
And the thing is, like, so again, guys I considered using. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I got a
Let's hear
mountain
me
of
out. Derrick Henry is just one player that went off tonight. If you picked a CJ Stroud, he went off tonight, and a lot of people didn't think they were going to make it out of the first round. So a lot of people probably played him first, thinking you're not going to make it to the Super Bowl. So imagine if you played him first, they go off and they win. You play Derrick Henry first, they go off and they win. Whoever playing you is going to regret it because now they really have to come from so far behind to catch you.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And we got our guy Deke Gully back in with us here. So Gully, kind of again, just to walk you through what's going on. So we have the playoff bracket up and on purpose because as you saw with what you were invited to, also just like Doc, and he got a chance to see it. Basically, the concept is this. Doc pointed out a fantastic fact, which is your points carry over. So even though you can't use a player more
Right.
than once, if you have a 50-point lead, that is a margin that somebody has to overcome.
Right.
And so even though you may not have Derrick Henry at your disposal week 2 or, of the playoffs and
Okay.
beyond, he may have never done, especially in these slugfests that, as Doc's reminding us, right? Like these conference championship games, he may not go off for 150 yards and 2 tutties.
You know what? I'm trying to think of the last, unless I don't know, unless I've just been out of the loop, the last time there was a blowout in a conference title game.
It's been forever.
Maybe the one that comes to mind is Jacksonville versus New England with was it Blake Bortles was the quarterback?
Oh yeah, when they had Maurice Jones-Drew as the running back.
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't realize the MJD was on that squad that went to the conference championship.
Mm-hmm. They had
Wow.
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah, they
sure
did.
did.
Yeah. Okay, yep.
They had Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, but yeah, I haven't. So to reason why I'm asking is because reflecting on that, because you're right, those conference championship games can be, they can be slugfests. They can be slugfests, and you got a chance to get some points there if you play them
Gully,
right.
who are you picking your first round right now? Obviously, you got to see what Stroud did. But as Doc found out really quickly, he was going to play Josh Allen originally. And then he found out quickly that, oh, wait a minute, I can't use him. He was going to use Mahomes. Originally, he went Allen, Mahomes, and then he realized he was going to have nobody to use at the conference title game on that side of the board. So then wait.
So if that's the case, hold on. How many quarterbacks do you have?
Just one per week.
Oh, just one per week. All right. So
he said Stroud should have went first.
Yeah, you had Stroud?
No, I did not. I'm just saying if I had to pick before the games even played tonight.
Gully, again, how this works is you're allowed to pick anybody. This is not like there's no draft in this case.
Oh, okay. You just pick your name. All right, bet. So if you say
once
Stroud,
you use them once, you cannot use them again.
Yeah, so Stroud should have been first. Heck, let's see what this game looking like.
Bro, it's 28-14, and Pittsburgh is punting it away.
Yeah, we are we at the end of the third?
You just started the fourth. You do Stroud first, and you do Derrick Henry first.
Yeah,
because that's it there. That's it there. That's your league that you need to give you. You know, you can relax next week. I'm not saying you don't have to apply pressure, but you don't have to apply as much pressure because now with Stroud and Henry, you got a nice little lead.
You can afford to make some mistakes.
Yeah, you can afford to mess around and put somebody out there who you think might do good, but might not do that great. You know, they're gonna get me points, but not an abundance of points. I scored my abundance of points in week 1. Now they're playing catch up, and I'm playing maintain. I'd rather play maintain than catch up.
When do you play Saquon?
The third game. Or the second. It just I was telling Double J. It comes down to who they play. But I got
they got the Packers first, and then for that matter, you got Josh Jacobs, right?
But see, I'm not playing Saquon first. I'm not. I see they got the Packers first. I'd rather play Saquon against a Washington or a Tampa Bay.
But see, this is why. See, I thought about using Josh Jacobs, but you guys are going to talk me out of it.
I'd use Josh Jacobs first and Saquon second.
Well, on that side, you play 2 running backs, right, Doc? I sent it to you. Hang on. Gully, I'm going to send this to you as well. So that way you have an image of what the lineup
okay, well,
like.
if you play 2 running backs, I'm playing Henry first, and I'm playing Bucky. Bucky and Henry goes first.
All right, I just text that to you.
Bucky's going to have himself a game. I'm going Bucky, and I'm going Henry first.
Yeah, so let's see. Oh, so you are going to use Bucky. I love the Bucky pick.
I'm using Bucky and Henry first. Well, I've been a fan of Bucky all season, bro. I've been a fan of Bucky all season. I'm going Bucky.
I'm getting my Stevie Wonder on with
who picked the Chargers.
Bro, I've been a fan of Bucky all season. Whenever he came down our fantasy picks, I always said play Bucky first. And look at Justice Hill.
He took one look. I'm using it as a point of reference. He starts
bro. This wasn't no default. No, none of them cards be like roster player. No, Jack. Somebody filled this in. Who had the charge?
That was me, and I switched it. I'm gonna feel even worse because as I told Doc a little earlier, I actually had the Houston defense,
and he should have played him. He shouldn't have.
I thought lowest scoring game out of the bunch, and then there was the probability. Again, I saw that stat, and it was too late, Doc. The one about the interceptions.
Yeah.
Now I could switch this for Buffalo's defense against Denver, but no, I can't switch Jack. So no, I'm out of luck there. The perfect lineup right now is looking like it would have been Dicker the kicker. Did anybody else see him get just destroyed? I haven't seen a kicker get hit that hard since Sean Taylor laid that guy out.
In the Pro Bowl. Yeah.
They let these boys play.
Now that you see the format, Gully, I want to hear your and Doc's picks here.
Okay. So this week, so we get 2 running backs.
That's what I said. Bucky goes first. So does Henry. Give you that comfortable lead you need. Like I said, I'd rather play to maintain than play to catch
Right,
up.
and then we see every week. So where would the third ranked Ravens go, assuming they win?
Buffalo.
They would go to Buffalo, assuming Buffalo wins.
Well, see, that's why you play Henry first, because Henry ain't finna run all over Buffalo.
Well,
I got an even better question.
all right.
Well, no, he just came back from injury. So who's your running back out of Detroit?
Gibbs, but I don't play him till later on down the line.
So here's to your point, Gully. I was mentioning this to Doc just briefly earlier that I would actually prefer to use Gibbs next week because I believe later down the line in either the conference championship or the Super Bowl, Montgomery is going to be available.
But you got to see how you're going to do week 1, so I see why you'll play Gibbs. No, week 2. You got to see how you're going to do week 2. So, yeah, I get it.
Okay. So I like that theory, Doc. You said Bucky and Henry.
Bucky
Doc,
and Henry
I feel
first.
like you should have played this thing, dude. I feel like you would have won it.
Well, you just sent it to me today. I was trying to check it out so I could see what was what. I don't like jumping the leagues till I figure out all the ins and outs of them. Because every league is different, obviously. So I don't I've only played PPR leagues, so I don't really know how everybody, every league is. You sent me like 3 different leagues. I don't know how all of them are. So I like to research them before I just hop in like, yeah, let's do it. That's why I asked you as many questions I asked. Like, is it a draft or is it a one-time deal? Like, is it a one and done? Like, how do we do this? Because the one link you sent me said they got an 8-hour draft and they got a draft that's like 30 seconds per pick on each round. I'm like,
what is an 8-hour draft?
Bro, I have no idea. That thing said 8-hour draft. I'm like, I did not have 8 hours.
I mean, bro, like I don't. No, I mean they really want the full Madden simulation event.
Yeah, they want you to really sit and pull up stats and wait on the phone with people and see if you can trade up.
Oh god, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I've been in draft parties where we all in the war room, everybody looking up stats and who they are. I've done that. That is pretty fun. But 8 hours though,
everybody feel like they're a GM. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah. For me, obviously, I made some mistakes here, and I have a little bit of a mountain to climb.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah, lessons were learned.
That's why you should have called me first, bro. We could have talked about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was, but I still feel like I'm confident in the rebound. The only pick that is in there now with
the group you got ain't bad. It's just the Fryer moves. Like, why would you pick him as your tight end?
Because he did well against the Ravens last time, and I thought,
but this is playoff ball. The Ravens play different in the playoffs than the regular season.
Thought he would do better than 3 for 15.
But see, that's why I think differently when it comes to playoff ball over regular season ball.
Yeah, you know what? I should have went probably Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, for sure, because that's Jalen Hurts' favorite target. Before he got hurt, outside of AJ Brown, before Devontae Smith got in the mix, it was Goddard, Smith, and Saquon Barkley. That was their main source of offense. Then once Goddard got hurt, that's when you seen Devontae Smith get thrown into the mix. I mean, I hate to say it, Devontae Smith is like a third option now, as far as pass go. But if you want to throw Saquon into it, a lot of people might hate to hear this, but Devontae Smith gets pushed down to a fourth option.
See, and that's what you got to think about too. Is when would you use Devontae Smith?
Early on, like
this week.
Unfortunately, if you end up with Devontae Smith, you play him right away. Yeah, I would not hate that I couldn't use him later on down the line in the playoffs.
Mm.
I would not, because like I said, they're gonna lean more heavily towards the Saquons, the Goddards, and the AJ Browns.
So who do you see kind of moving along then? Is it, I know, Doc, you kind of were somewhat laying out a pathway where it'd be Chiefs, Lions, but is Gully, do you see it any different here? How would you build this thing? And part of it is how you foresee this bracket playing out.
Man, there are 1, 2, 3, 4.
You know the tight end you say for the Super Bowl? Travis Kelce. Save
What?
him
You saved him for the Super Bowl?
Yes, bro. They broke Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski's record
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Super
You know
Bowl
what? Because
receptions and tutties and all that. Like that's his go-to. Everybody knows that. That's his number one target in the postseason, Travis Kelce.
okay,
So
right.
you save him for the Super Bowl because that's when Travis Kelce tends to go off the most. Patrick Mahomes leans heavily on him in the Super Bowl. That's why they got the stats that they got. So if and when they make it to the Super Bowl, because you know how the NFL script is set up, once they make it to the Super Bowl, Travis Kelce is going to be the tight end you want playing, and Patrick Mahomes is going to be the quarterback you want playing. If you don't have Kelce, I'm sorry, Travis. If you don't have Travis Kelce for the Super Bowl, play Patrick Mahomes because he's going to be throwing to Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes gets points off of that. So those are the two guys you want for the Super Bowl for sure.
Mm.
Am I wrong? Look at the stats. Double J, you a stat guy. Look at the stats. Am I wrong?
You're saying with Kelsey and Mahomes?
Kelce and Mahomes. Like if you don't have Mahomes, you play Kelce in the Super Bowl. If you have Mahomes, you play Mahomes in the Super Bowl and you play a different tight end. Because you're not gonna get both.
You know, it's interesting. There's a guy on Twitter. He did a $1,000 prop on Sam Laporta to be the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Because they know how Goff loves his tight ends, but
What's the
Gibbs would be the MVP. I would be willing to put my money on Gibbs in the Super Bowl.
Actually, let's see if I can find that for you right now. Matter of fact, here we go. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll put my money on Gibbs for the Super Bowl for sure. That's the MVP right there. Gibbs or Goff?
Gibbs or Goff is new.
Mm-hmm. Seriously, if they make it to the Super Bowl and they ask you to put your, because all betting slips do, if they want to know your MVP pick, you can't go wrong with Goff or Gibbs.
Wow.
You can't go wrong. Because the reason I say this is because Montgomery's coming back from injury, so I mean he's not gonna show out to his full potential. He's only gonna be about 70%. Gibbs, he's shown I can do it all. As long as I got some kind of backup where I can take a breather, I can get you 160 something yards and 4 touchdowns. Goff showed, hey, look, I can throw those touchdowns. So it's gonna pretty much come down to how the votes go, but you can't go wrong with picking either Goff or Gibbs for MVP. Because those are gonna be your two X factors in if you're gonna win or not.
Right.
All right, so check these out. Here's his official plays. Super Bowl 2025. Sam Laporta he took on DraftKings $100 plus 25,000. Oh my gosh, that is as it sounds. Because 100 on a plus 1,100, as an example, is would pay out $1,100.
Hold on, Zach Johnson to win the match.
Yo,
bro, to win the Masters.
Bro, look how much money that is.
I get it, but Zach Johnson is not winning the Masters. Come on, bro, be real.
I don't know, man. This guy wins, and it's wild.
He do. I mean, he's not wrong for picking, but I don't think he'll
Thoughts
win.
on the Jalen Carter defensive?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. He gets
Mm.
winded too early. Playoffs are fast paced. He gonna get winded. He not winning no defensive MVP. He gonna get tired. Yeah, he gonna make a few good plays early on, but once he get winded, he's gonna be a non-factor.
So yeah, that's an interesting kind of theory. Because again, I'm only throwing that out there
But
because we were
look at
talking
his
tight
history,
ends.
bro. Look at the losses they've taken. When he gets tired, he doesn't perform well.
Yeah, as is anybody, right?
You know what's interesting about
But he
that
gets
Masters
tired
pick?
way too quick though. Like he gets tired fast, bro. Like you have to give Jalen Carter breaks. And if you get a team that's smart and sees your defense is wearing down, they go no huddle. Jalen Carter is fried. That's not MVP worthy.
So a quick note on that Masters pick is that Circa gave the 2000 to 1, but Caesars is only doing 350 to 1. Like not even remotely close. That's strange to me.
Yeah, very.
Well, that'll be one to pay attention to, I guess. If you end up seeing Zach Johnson winning the Masters, just know that all of us will end up sobbing. And what could have been, and but nevertheless, yeah, and that individual will be very, very happy. Yeah, as far as kind of picking this, it is more difficult than it sounds, and yes, establishing a lead goes a long, long way. But who is your Super Bowl picks from this? Because ultimately, you got to be able to field a team here, and you don't necessarily want to have none of the options available.
The teams I think is going to the Super Bowl. I got a couple different teams because I got a couple of different scenarios playing out in my head. So if things go the way I want them to go, we're gonna see Kansas City and the Lions in the Super Bowl. So the Lions can finally squash the whole "you got lucky beating Kansas City" narrative. And another game I want to see is either the Bills and the Lions or the Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like the Ravens and the Eagles would be a great game. Two great running teams going against each other that also have a great defense. Like that'd be a great game. High scoring. I'm talking the over is like 90 points.
Over 90 points.
Yeah, buddy. I see them both putting up at least 40 on each side.
Wow.
It's a high scoring offense on both sides, bro. Like, come on now. That's two high scoring offenses. Like, you don't think they will put up at least 40 on each side? Okay, maybe I'm milking it with the 90 because I just love high scoring games. So maybe, okay, the over like 65, 60 ish. That's 30 points on each side. I can see that. That's low scoring compared to how high powered these offenses are.
Yeah. No, interesting. Oh my gosh. See, I needed that optimism earlier when I was picking some of these things. I way, way lowballed what could occur. But I think now it's fourth down territory for Pittsburgh.
They already went for it and failed. The ball's turned over. It's Baltimore ball.
Oh man.
Baltimore dropped the interception in the end zone. Hit him right in the hands and he dropped it. But you know what they say? DBs are wide receivers that can't catch, so it makes sense.
Hmm. Well, this thing's going to be done and dusted then. I don't know if they scored another touchdown or not.
They don't. Baltimore runs the ball all night, runs the clock out, and even if they do turn it over, Pittsburgh not gonna score. So final score 28-14 or maybe 35-14, depending on what the defense of Pittsburgh allows.
Hmm.
But hey, shouts out to Mike Tomlin. Not a losing season since he got in, but he hadn't had a playoff win since 2016. So he got to get it together because a lot of people say black head coaching jobs in the NFL are temp jobs. So you better get it together because they gonna get tired of getting put out in the playoffs.
See, and that's what, Gully, do you have any thoughts on what the Steelers need to do? Because clearly, what is it? I'm looking at the rushing stats right here, right? There's 6 attempts for 17 yards from Najee Harris, 3 for 6 from Russell Wilson, and 2 for 6 from Jalen Warren. They clearly couldn't run the ball, and I don't remember Baltimore's rush defense being that darn good.
But it's like they've been for the last 8 seasons. They get to the playoffs and they forget how to football.
Yeah, you know what? I thought you were asking in perspective to like long term, right?
Oh yeah, I am absolutely fix the Steelers.
So in this game today, I don't know. I think they're looking for Russ to find 2013 and want to avenge passing the ball at the end zone. But I don't know that they got it just yet. Man, did the Ravens just totally shut down the run game, or
no? They totally shut it down, bro. They can't do anything.
Oh, okay. So then, what can you do? What can you do? If you got, Najee Harris is a top tier back. He's an elite back. He's in the class of those guys. So if he ain't running the ball well, and Russell Wilson is a scramble, he's supposed to be able to hear.
He's also older.
Say again.
He's also older than what he used to be. He's not the scrambling quarterback he used to be.
Yeah, so Father Time is undefeated. We've heard that before, but man, you know what? I don't know. I don't know what you do at the moment, because they might just be up against a better team, and the team that's playing for them. They're up against a rival. So this is it. This could very well be it.
Russ is a free agent after this year. I know Doc said re-sign him. What do you think?
No, don't re-sign him.
What?
Don't re-sign him.
Okay, so I'm gonna pose the same question that I posed.
Okay, so Justin Fields is a qualified backup?
No. You did not see him play tonight. That one play he got in, he panicked, bro. He got PTSD from Chicago. He is not the answer for this Pittsburgh team. Mike Tomlin even said it himself. He felt like Russell Wilson was the quarterback that was going to lead them to where they are now.
Yeah.
If your head coach don't have faith in you, what makes you think that he's going to be the starter next year after they let Russell Wilson go? Serious question. What makes you think that Justin Fields is going to be that starting quarterback? Then if you look at the quarterbacks that's coming out, let me finish though. When you look at the quarterbacks that's coming out of college now, you look at the pick they're probably going to end up with. What quarterback are they going to get that late in the draft that's going to be worthy of replacing a Russell Wilson when you're stuck with Justin Fields, who can't pass a lick to save his life? And then when the line breaks down, he panics like he did in Chicago. What are you going to do then? You re-sign Russell Wilson. What would you do in that situation, knowing the knowledge that I just gave you?
Man, we don't know what that offseason workout, man. We don't know what that at the time, right? Remember, that decision that was made for Justin Fields not to start was made because of what Russell Wilson looked like at the time prior to his injury. And getting the starting job back because he came back from injury is an indication that Russell Wilson was ready to play. He was good. You know what I'm saying? He was better than advertised, much better than advertised. The big, however, is how well did Justin Fields do in his absence? He did pretty remarkably well. So, do you have big money for Russell Wilson, which is what he wants to get back to, considering what he left, the situation he left in Denver? Do you have that, or do you work with Justin Fields, a younger quarterback whom showed promise, just wasn't Russell Wilson just yet, who was basically like, oh, this, you know what I'm saying? This is in the oven. It ain't quite ready yet, but it's on its way.
You gonna be waiting
that's
for
why
a while.
I think Justin Fields may be able with another year. Well, if we talk about another year, we're talking about going into next season. I think he'll be much more settled. And so he'll be a better performer at QB because of that. So that's why I say I think maybe you might want to part ways with Russell Wilson because it's going to be very expensive.
Because if that Justin Fields thing don't work out, then what? You just stuck. You putting all your eggs in one basket with Justin Fields.
And you're not with Russell Wilson.
No, I say you spread it around because Russell Wilson has said he's willing to take pay cuts. I don't think Russell Wilson gonna ask for that much money. Russell Wilson ain't stupid. He know what he worth. He seen how he's played.
But is Justin
He's
Fields
not finna
truly
break the bank.
washed now? Like, are we all convinced of that? I'm not even sure.
No, Justin Fields isn't washed, but he don't fit this Pittsburgh system because if you look at it, they only use him to run. They don't have plays built for they don't have plays built for him. You know how hard it is going to be to rewire your whole offense around this player who's one-dimensional? Justin Fields is one-dimensional, bro. When he starts panicking, he's inaccurate with the passes downfield. He's inaccurate with check down passes. Like, that's your check down. How are you inaccurate at that? Like that. That's too much development needed for a team that's like as decorated as the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't have that much time to waste on developing a quarterback that should already be developed. You can't waste that much. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers. We are champions. Look, we got 16 of them things. Not 16. Shoot. 15. We have 15 of them things. Like, we are about winning. We win. We are winners over here. We don't have time to develop a quarterback that we think could eventually get us to winning. No, we want to win now. So they're not going to waste their time on him. I think they're going to waste their time on Russell until they can get a quarterback that's actually worthy of Pittsburgh Steelers coming out of the draft. Because right now, this year, they don't have any quarterbacks that I can say right off the top of my head will fit that scheme. Russell Wilson is their best option.
I don't know. I think they're probably in one of the worst positions to be in right now because
they are. But that's my point. You're in a bad situation. Russell Wilson got y'all to the playoffs after Justin Fields was done doing what he was doing. Russell Wilson showed we can get to the playoffs. So that keeps the front office happy. We making it to the playoffs. We almost there. We just a couple pieces away. That shows promise. You're not going to get no promise out of Justin Fields. But that's just how I look at it. You're not going to get a lot of promise out of Justin Fields. I just don't see it.
Look, on behalf of
Mike Tomlin started Russell Wilson for a reason. Now, you knew me at the earlier part of the season. I was one of the biggest Russell Wilson haters. I was, but I see why they.
No, we acknowledge that.
I see why they did what they did because he was their best option. And you talking about getting rid of their best option because you feel that the person that they put back on the bench for their best option was the better option. Like, I'm just trying to make it make sense. Because they felt like eventually he would be there, but right now he's not it. I don't think you get rid of Russell Wilson this early. I feel like they need Justin Fields to get a little bit more time behind Russell Wilson before he's the person you want him to be. But right now, what you're talking, I don't think he's ready for that yet. I'm not saying you're completely wrong. I'm saying you're wrong in saying this is it. This is the time to move on from Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. You're it. It's not the time yet. It's not the time yet. I give him another year or two, and then it's time to move on from Russell Wilson. That's all I'm saying. That's where my disagreement with you is. If you had to set a couple more years, cool. I agree with everything you just said. But since you just said next year is the year to move on, I don't agree with that one. Give Justin Fields a little bit more time. He's not ready yet.
Let's see. Taking a look at something here. Let's go with. Hold on. How long did Steve Young sit behind Joe Montana?
Everyone knows Cincinnati, but here I'm Master Sergeant.
Like 4 years.
4 years. 87 to 95. Yeah, you're right. 87, 88, 89, 90.
It's 8 years. 87 and 95, that's 8 years.
No. That was 87 to 95. That's how long. Well, he spent his whole career with well, aside from Tampa Bay, he spent his whole career with San Francisco.
So about 3 to 4 years is how long he
said. Yeah, it's a long time. So I guess it could. Yeah, you can cook. It can be a slow development process.
That's what I said. So, you gotta let Justin Fields. You gotta let Russell Wilson cook. Let him cook. This is his first year. Just let him cook. He ain't do bad. Let him cook. He got injured. So we don't know what he's gonna do with a full season. So just let him cook. You know what I'm saying? Like he ain't do bad when he actually got to play. He actually shocked me on a lot of occasions. Like, oh, I thought Russell Wilson wasn't capable of that no more. Like, let him cook, man. Just give it some time.
Do they go after somebody like Kirk Cousins for the right number?
No.
No.
Atlanta showed they made a mistake. Michael Penix should have been playing.
Boy, I don't know how Mike Tomlin has turned manure into sugar for so long that I just, of all the rosters that I would personally take over as a joystick GM, Pittsburgh is not one of them. It couldn't be further from it. It is because it's the it is maximizing value. And I look at that and I'm like, these guys, I would have trouble offloading them unless I had forced trades or something on. And at that point, where's the fun in that? But so that's why I'm turning it over to you guys. And it's like, this is a difficult project. I could easily see them going from, playoffs. He's never had a losing record. And that's to me, that is all credit to him, because I feel like if you could put Kevin Stefanski over there and they got the Browns record.
Man, listen. That would be hilarious. They fire bring in Kevin Stefanski.
Bring in Gerard Mayo. Forget it. Let him cook.
I can't. Yeah, it just. I'm really almost in disbelief that they're as competitive as they've been, because they look like a shell of themselves.
But Mike Tomlin always makes a way. That's why I say leave Russell Wilson there. I'm not a full believer in Russell Wilson, but I believe in Mike Tomlin. So
I want to know
Russell Wilson
what
is
happened.
his guy. That's his guy.
So Gully, a stat that I had pointed out a little earlier in the show was that, as it pertains specifically to Russell Wilson, he ranked 30th out of 31 qualified quarterbacks in EPA per dropback over the last 5 weeks of the season. The only quarterback worse than him, imagine that, was DTR.
So he don't drop back no more.
Well, what good is that if you're a quarterback?
You can make quicker decisions.
Well, I felt
or which is what you're describing, which is something that could be suggested or insinuated by what you're describing, as far as your position of being nervous if you had to work or not knowing what to do with the Steelers offense. I'm saying perhaps their receiving core leaves something to be desired. We got Pickens, but aside from that, where's the balance? Where's the weak side receiver? Where's the depth at that position that perhaps showed up in Russell Wilson's stat? You get what I'm saying?
Hey, quick stat update. That's the game, 28-14, Baltimore over Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, so now we're halfway there on the AFC side. Again, officially, it will be Houston versus Kansas City, and then, of course, Baltimore advancing to likely play Buffalo unless some real madness occurs.
There's going to be no madness. Josh Allen is on a mission.
Okay.
Plus, I really want to see Baltimore versus the Bills. So
you know what? And who do you guys have in that, and why?
This is what I'm trying to say, man. When I was counting earlier, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 5 Super Bowl winning teams in this playoff. There are 5 of them. Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, Detroit, and Philadelphia. Those are 5 teams that if if it weren't for this year, in any other year, they would be a heavy favorite, especially in the AFC.
The Lions are the heavy favorite right now.
Huh?
The Lions are the heavy favorite right now to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They are a heavy favorite to win the Super Bowl. So what happens if Kansas City doesn't? And they've won 3 and they've been to 4. You know, is it like, oh man, we missed an opportunity? You know, what is it like if Baltimore loses to Detroit in the Super Bowl for Lamar Jackson and company? Same could be said for Josh Allen. I don't know how this is a very hard to pick playoff bracket. So you ask me, it's very hard to pick because I see dominance. I see teams, they do it, they might do it differently, but they are dominant defensively and offensively, at least the 4 teams that I named. Baltimore goes to Buffalo, if assuming Buffalo beats Denver.
Yeah, and something I'm going to point out to you, just so you have the full picture here, is about at week 11, Baltimore decided to move Kyle Hamilton from slot corner back to safety, and they are now one of the best teams defensively. Again, I'll pull this chart up here just so you can see exactly how far they have distanced themselves. And that's why maybe to some extent we're being a little too critical on Russ. But again, that stat kind of spoke for itself. They didn't play them all 5 weeks.
Gotcha.
But like I said, it also goes back to look at who they play. You got to look at the schedule. That matters. That matters. You can look good against a bunch of bums, but then look at who you lost to. You lost to good teams. Whenever you come across a good team, you lose.
Well, now think about this, Doc, right? You look with what you just said, right? They had the Bengals the last 5 weeks. So Bengals, Chiefs, Ravens, Eagles, Browns.
Okay, well, yeah, that's pretty tough. I didn't know they led. That's why I said you gotta look at the schedule. But okay, maybe you on to something here.
I mean, that's brutal.
Yeah, you on to something here. That's a tough schedule.
I mean, really, that's that's a terrible schedule.
Yeah, that's a tough schedule there.
And then think of it this way: if they get to the playoffs, it'll be a reshuffling of the deck.
Yeah.
Like same game, same cards. I just shuffled the deck. Now you get to hit the Ravens, and then like that's Pittsburgh is the victim of. They always victim of craziness with their schedule.
And quarterback situations, because since Ben left, their quarterback situation has been horrible.
Yes, indeed.
Horrible. Like, man, they need a quarterback. Like, honestly, they are like just a quarterback and maybe a couple of defensive pieces away from being a great team because their backfield is great. Their receivers are they're okay. They could use one more receiver, but defense is the most important thing they need to focus on right now. A quarterback and a couple pieces on defense, Pittsburgh is back to where it used to be. I mean, golly, that defense did not do nothing tonight. Nothing.
You know, it's interesting to me. I mean, obviously, yes, that's a gauntlet that they went through. But well, yeah, now that hang on, you got Falcons, Broncos, Chargers, Colts, Cowboys, Raiders, Jets, Giants, and then Commanders. And then you get into the Ravens, Steelers, Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, and then that gauntlet that I mentioned. So I don't know. I part of me kind of understands now that was all right. Maybe that's why, but you know, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson. So, but now if you look at Baltimore, okay, so hang on. This is all right. This is where look, statistically, I've already said Lamar outperformed Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone has crowned Josh Allen. Is the winner of this game your MVP?
Lamar been my MVP regardless of the winner. Only reason people say Josh Allen should even be considered or get, I mean, he should be considered because of his stats, but should win the MVP. It's because when you have a back-to-back winner, it comes into play. You already won 2 of them. That actually plays in. That's an actual factor in voting. You already won 2. And here's a guy who's been playing great football for his team, and he got all the way here to the playoffs. Like, he's not no bum. You got 2. Let's give this guy one. He deserves it. That plays a big factor. So I feel like Josh Allen might end up edging out Lamar Jackson in MVP because of that. Like, Lamar already has 2. Let's give this guy Josh Allen one. He's gonna get it off. It's almost like It's almost like pity votes, but it's not. It's more so you got 2 already. Like you got enough. Let's get Josh Allen one. He deserves it because after this year, ain't no telling when the next time he might be MVP caliber. He might not get it next year, but as of right now, he's playing like an MVP. His team needs him. He's the most valuable player on his squad. Lamar Jackson, there's room, little wiggle room there. You got Derrick Henry. Like, you got some help. Josh Allen don't have as much help as Lamar Jackson does, but not Lamar Jackson, but Josh Allen is still getting it done. So I feel like Josh Allen might end up getting it.
Gully, who you got?
Man, that's a tough one, man. It's gonna be in Buffalo. Man, somebody gonna get their heart broke. That's why I say this is a collision course. I can't call it. I feel like Buffalo may take the win, given that they're able to host a playoff game. I think home court or home field advantage is
It's a major factor.
Yeah, this season, this early in the playoff game. So, man, right when I want to say Josh Allen. All right. Here we go. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Buffalo at home. Assuming they beat Denver.
They'll beat Denver. Bo Nix is a rookie with no playoff experience. He's gonna get exposed. As all rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs do. He's gonna get exposed. Buffalo is the clear-cut victors here. But we'll see.
All right, moving over to the NFC side. We'll do that right after this timeout.
It's K Cunningham, and you watching the Shop Report. I'm Homie Diallo, and you watching the Shop Report.
My name's Chris Murray, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Oh, you're Jay Knight, you're watching the Shop Report.
Max McKee, you're dropping in on the Shop Report.
Barbershop Jay, Quentin Hines, Super Bowl champion. I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm on.
Hi, I'm Mars Networks from Mercury Stadium, and you're watching the Shock Report.
Hey, I'm Billy Butler, and thank you for watching the Shop Report. Hey guys, I'm Les Norman, former Kansas City Royal, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Commander Brown, Detroit Rivers Mountain Training, and I'm watching the Shop Report.
Hey, this is Doug Flynn of the New York Mets. Well, a few other teams, of course, too. And you're watching the Shop Report.
I'm Matt Ramos, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? I'm Rajay Davis, and you're watching the Shop Report.
How you doing? This is Nelson Figueroa, former Major League pitcher with a lot of teams. You're about to listen to the Shop Report.
Hey, this is Howard Johnston. You're watching the Shop Report.
Hi, I'm Heath Bell from the New York Mets, and you're listening to the Shop Report podcast. Yeah!
Hey, I'm Josh Tolley, former catcher of the New York Mets, and you're watching the Shop Report.
This is Edgardo Alfonso for the Mets, and you're listening to Shop Report.
Hey, this is Doc Gooden, and you're watching the Shop Report.
Hello, this is Mike Hampton, and you're watching Shop Report.
This is Herman R.V.
former NFL offensive lineman with the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. And you're listening to The Shop Report.
Cleaning the cracks on your pavement surfaces can take hours and be torturous on your body. Until now. Bi-Cracky Weed Removal Tool was designed specifically to clean pavement cracks in a fraction of the time, all while standing up. Bi-Cracky's patented design incorporates a two-sided steel blade and is encased by a durable fiberglass shell. Simply use the large end to clean big gaps, then rotate and use the small tip for narrow gaps. Made in the USA, Bi-Cracky eliminates weeds to the root and is environmentally friendly. Bi-Cracky, save your back while you clean your crack.
All right, just like that, we are back. And before we get started, of course, I wanted to point out here we had a few other things go on in the NBA, specifically one of which was Cade having a triple-double in the Pistons win over the Raptors. But also, it looks like Ja Morant had himself a night as well. And see here. He ultimately looks like he won the game. What was that, at the buzzer? 2 buckets. 2 crazy Ja Morant buckets in the final minute to seal the win over Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Is this a growth year for Minnesota? What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, this is a what the heck happened to my team year. But he told his teammate, you look like you put jeans on. Yo, that's got to be the wildest insult I've ever heard. But it makes so much sense. That's the roster that he's with. That's the team that he has. When last year, the team that went to the conference finals looked entirely different. That got to be so frustrating if you're Anthony Edwards, because you didn't probably, with the team you had, you probably made promises or made statements about your desire to stay here and win in Minnesota, and then look what they do. Look what they do to show their appreciation. Yeah, I think he's totally frustrated. That's got to be embarrassing. Yes, this is a growth year. And he's growing pains, and we're not talking about the show.
I'm happy for Minnesota. They're doing their thing. I like watching Anthony Edwards work. Ant-Man is my favorite player right now. Like, he embodies like old school ball with a new school twist.
Like, even in a loss?
Yeah, I don't mind. I like Anthony Edwards, man. Like, I'm all for. I'm an Ant-Man fan, bro. He can do no wrong in my eyes. Like, he can't. I'm sorry. I'm an Ant-Man fan. I love watching that boy play. Even the interviews, bro. Like, after the game was over, I purposely sit through all the commercials and everything just so I can see his interviews, because he gonna give you something, man. Like, I don't know. He's a special player. I really enjoy watching him play.
Wow. Yeah, Mackenzie Dern is trending as well. It looks like looked at UFC Vegas. She was trending for more than one reason. If for those that have Twitter, this is after dark, after all. But she did submit Amanda Ribas. Wow. And was victorious there. So definitely want to shout her out. And then on the other hand, Tomlin, of course, is trending at the moment for a lot of reasons. 10 wins in the regular season. And I mean, he's getting roasted. He's getting cooked. He's getting cooked.
Yeah,
now, people are saying, hang on, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, right? I'm reading somebody said this. Tomlin wasted the primes of Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and Minka Fitzpatrick. 2 of these guys didn't even win a playoff game.
How did he waste those people's talents? How? He can't.
Yeah, what?
He's not on the field playing. Like, he's done the best job he could with what he had. Like, Antonio Brown was a problem for every team he's ever played for, so stop that. Le'Veon Bell was also a problem for a majority of the teams he played for, so stop that. TJ Watt is still doing his thing. It's not his fault that the owners who are above the coaches didn't put anybody around him to play better, so it's not Tomlin's fault. He's got y'all a winning record every single season. It's not his fault. He didn't waste anybody's talent. If anything, the front office wasted those people's talent because they didn't realize the talent that they had and didn't get anything around them. Or maybe I'm just tripping.
Man, if they fire Tomlin,
they're not, but I'm just saying, like, look at the facts, bro.
Yeah.
What did they put around all those great players? Tomlin is just the coach. He's not the GM. He ain't in the front office. He don't choose who y'all draft. So how did he waste those people's talents?
Right. The question is, what does Tomlin do that the fans feel he should have done differently? Like, what's the situation, right? What do they feel like? Maybe he's not an X's and O's quarterback or a coach, like Dan Campbell doesn't seem to be the X's and O's strategist in game. And he's more about psyche, effort, and development. If that's the problem, then good luck to him, because I wouldn't, right. The stability I have knowing that I have a winning team, if I'm an owner and I own a football club and I'm trying to get revenue, the best way to get revenue is to constantly be relevant in the playoff picture. If nothing else, they historically have been a team to alter the timelines in the playoffs, being that, they were upset special for sure. All that being said, I don't see what someone could do with that roster or how that roster would be built around somebody else. The roster that Mike Tomlin coaches. I don't get what else they're looking for.
It's a very interesting perspective, right? To see that many in the Pittsburgh space. I mean, I saw somebody on my Facebook. He apparently wagered some things that I can't even say. And so he's now got to pay up, unfortunately. So I'm really in disbelief at just how critical they're being in the moment here. And especially to me, that almost sounds outlandish. I would have never imagined. Listen to this. Here's another one. Mike Tomlin really might be the most overrated coach in NFL history. He gets destroyed in the playoffs every year, but he gets a pass because his teams are always pretty good in the regular season. He's the NFL version of Doc Rivers. He won a ring and did nothing since.
It's not his fault.
Wow. Call that man the NFL's Doc Rivers.
He's got a winning. He's never had a losing season. What more do you want from this man? He's making, I don't want to cuss, but he's making sugar out of ish, if you get what I'm saying. Like, what else do you want from him? I'm doing the best that I can with what I got.
I was gonna make reference to Tyrese when you said that. But that's no, I don't know.
What else do you want from me?
Don't do it. Don't double check.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought. But what else do you want from me? Like, holla at the owners. Don't blame me. I'm doing what I can with what I got. Holla at the owners.
What are you thinking, Gully? You want some breakfast?
Right. That's hilarious. That's brutal.
This is real life right now. And again, the caption to this was Mike Tomlin once he gets his annual 500 record. I'm not sure what to say. I will let you guys kind of take it from here with this. I've never seen anything like this.
Like we're saying, I don't think that Tomlin is the problem.
The disrespect is criminal, bro. Remember what I
Yeah,
told
I
you?
don't know. I don't know that.
Remember what I told you earlier. Black head coaching jobs in the NFL are like temp jobs. Okay?
Except for his.
So check
But
this
he's
out,
been
though.
winning. They ain't gonna fire you for winning, but now they at the point to where, like I said earlier, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a prestigious football team. They win championships. That's what they're used to. Now you have a coach. Yeah, you getting us to the playoffs. So now we want more. So now they starting to turn their back on them because, hey, look, we tired of making it here. We ain't winning nothing. We need to at least get to the Super Bowl or the title game. Something. They're getting
So
tired. They're getting tired of getting short shipped.
And so it's interesting you say that, right? So I'm going to comment from RJ here on Twitter. He's saying, look at Lamar Jackson killing the Steelers defense with his legs. It opens up big plays to throw downfield and also helps Derrick Henry as well. Just imagine if Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith actually knew how to utilize Justin Fields the same way. And of course, that's with the don't be a menace gif of message. And then Arthur Smith and Mike, this from Pickens, the Steelers' mind. Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin would rather run a flea flicker for negative yards than play Justin Fields.
But Justin Fields almost threw an intercept. You know what? These people didn't watch the game. Like they're just hating for no reason. Because Justin Fields is not the answer, bro. They talking all that smack about why they can't do the same thing Baltimore doing with. Because Justin Fields ain't a running back, idiots. He's a quarterback.
Oh my gosh!
You can't get the Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson combo out of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, or even Justin Fields and Warren, or Justin Fields and what's the other guy's name? Najee Harris. You're not getting that combo. So y'all looking at another team wishing you had something that you ain't got. And you're not gonna get that because that team has never been set up like that. Those running backs have never been that. So y'all sound pretty crazy asking why they can't do what Baltimore is doing when it's pretty clear why they can't do what Baltimore is doing, because you don't have the players that Baltimore got. Or did y'all just forget that?
Man.
Like, make it make sense. That's like me saying I wish my Cavalier drove like a Bentley. Why I can't get my Cavalier to drive like a Bentley when his Bentley driving like a Bentley? Because you don't have a Bentley, idiot.
Look, I'm going to give you guys the final thoughts on this. This is from John Frashella Football. If this massacre continues, Mike Tomlin had the worst season in coaching history. He benched a 25-year-old athletic freak in Justin Fields for an 80-year-old Russell Wilson and said, that's why they pay me the big bucks. Whole team was rolling and playing hard for Fields. Tomlin single-handedly destroyed a promising Pittsburgh season with a young quarterback on the rise.
Justin Fields went 4-2.
Hey, as much as Barbershop Jay says about kind of the Cleveland aspect of this, oh man, I'm telling you, I'm looking at this Pittsburgh situation. It seems worse. It seems more toxic than even what our host has alluded to.
Bro, Justin Fields went 4-2. So you mean to tell me Justin Fields just gets to start over Russell Wilson because he won 4 games? He won 2 more games than he lost. In the 2 games he won, he played bum teams. So you mean to tell me that because Russell Wilson was injured and Justin Fields got to play some dirt teams and won 2 more games than he lost, Mike Tomlin made a mistake? No, because Russell Wilson could have won them same 2 games that Justin Fields lost against those dirt teams if he was healthy. So let's not do that. Like, people are quick to forget the schedule we were talking about. Early on in the season, Pittsburgh had a cakewalk. So yeah, Justin Fields looked good against cake teams, as he did in Chicago against cake teams. He looked good. He looked good against the dominant Lions that we had. So you mean to tell me that just because he played some dirt teams and he did good against the dirt teams that he's overqualified to Start over Russell Wilson, who's proved time and time again that I can get y'all to the playoffs, and Justin Fields hadn't proved I can get y'all to the playoffs at all.
Take a look at this. Gully, what do you got to say? I mean, look at the Browns are on here.
Jeez. Wow. Yeah. Showing up in the playoffs is a different story. You're right about that, though. You're right about that. Wow.
Well, look at the lineup. 2017, that Jacksonville Jaguars team almost went to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
They were certified. 2020, that Cleveland Browns team was on a roll. They had a squad. They had OBJ, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. They had a squad. 2021, Kansas City Chiefs, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. Like, come on now. Not Pacheco, but who was they running back? I can't think of his name, but they had a squad.
they
2023.
had Edward Hilaire that year, I think.
Yeah, Edward Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was a beast at running back until injuries tore his body up. So why are they hating on Pittsburgh for losing to really good teams? Those were really good teams. The Buffalo Bills lost to the Kansas City Chiefs after they beat Pittsburgh. And the Kansas City Chiefs went on to win the Super Bowl. So what are y'all so upset for? They lost to really good teams. It ain't like these were some bum teams that didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. Mike Tomlin did the best he could with what he had. What he had wasn't good enough to beat a team that was all around good on both sides of the ball. That's not Tomlin's fault. That's the fault of those who can't draft right or who don't know. Whoever picking Pittsburgh talent needs to be fired because you're not doing a great enough job to get them to compete with the Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs or, as you can see now, the Baltimore Ravens. It's not Tomlin's fault.
Gully, I'm going to ask you this. They're saying they're showing the Shawn Michaels Sweet Chin music to Ric Flair.
Oh, put him out of his misery.
Yep. And Pat Riley, with his, kind of doing the Birdman, if you will, saying Mike Tomlin punting on 4th and inches, maybe I am washed. This is, but seeing statistics like that, there's a woman holding Amanda Vance. I'll shout you out there. She's tired of it. She was at MB&T Stadium and holding Mike Tomlin's LinkedIn as he needs to find new employment. Oof. And they're calling it the worst gimmick, meaning the non-losing seasons. Oh, they pulled Russ for Fields with 4 minutes left. Oh man.
Oh, they put Fields in. So what did your commentary say about how he played when he was
horribly?
In?
Fields ain't do nothing.
I can't repeat this entirely, but Never Taken L has chimed in saying Tomlin is Doc Rivers with motivational quotes. Oh my God. Hey, look, I'm gonna leave him alone. There's I don't think this is the last. This might be the last game for him. Based on that, I don't know if that's just immediate overreaction, but just seeing what we have here on the screen. Doc, you've done a good job of trying to save his job. If you were to do that one more time, despite what we have on the screen, try to sell me on that, or sell us all for that matter.
I just sold you on it, bro. Look at the teams he played, man. I just laid out the rosters for you and who they had and how powerful those teams were. It's not Mike Tomlin's fault. You need to blame the guys that's giving him the talent that he has. He's doing great with what he got. He obviously don't have much.
Oh, man. Cancun is trending, showing Russell Wilson trying to decide between Cancun or Cabo. Oh.
Honestly, they just need a new front office.
You
Could
think
you
a new front office?
could you see what Tomlin did when he had talent? He was making it to the Super Bowl. Once whoever took over in that front office took over and they started drafting the not George Pickens, Kenny Pickett's and all of it. Like, come on now. Like Kenny Pickett.
Something else I'm going to bring up here is Carson Beck has committed to Barbershop
Miami.
J. That's
The
right.
U.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Now,
be trash.
there's a report that has came out that unfortunately for Carson Beck, his significant other here is one of the twins, former basketball players, I believe, and it appears that his relationship was impacting the locker room for the Georgia Bulldogs this season. Guys, we're in an era of NIL paying us, paying more than we've ever seen.
The transfer portal. Don't forget about that.
And now we have, celebrities where, he's doing TikToks with his girlfriend. So, not that it suggests there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but could you see how this could, is this a thing that we're going to, we normally have to deal with this at the pro level. What do you guys make out of that? I've never seen this before with that.
Well, the NILs are giving these kids the opportunity to be at that status of pros. We making all these schools all this money and sacrificing our bodies, and what are we getting paid? We getting pennies on the dollar. Y'all getting millions off of us, and y'all paying us thousands. NIL is I mean, it's good, but it's bad. It's great because it allows those kids who got scholarships who couldn't take care of their families and had to leave in the hood. It gives them an option. Now I can take care of my family. But it's also bad because it gives players an option of saying, hey, look, I can get the big head. I can be a princess, if you will. If you want me to play for you, you're going to pay me.
So check this out. Okay, Carson Beck's NIL for next season. Okay. Matter of fact, I'm just going to surprise you all when here we go. Wait. Yep. Okay. Perfect. All right. I got it here because I want you all to see this and get your thoughts immediately. Take a look at that. Carson Beck will be getting $4 million for next season. Meanwhile, all of George Pickens' guaranteed contract throughout the last 4 seasons is that number below.
It's college ball, bro.
Do you see why you had Caleb Williams demanding ownership at one point in time? I think rookie deals are going to be reset. I think the collective bargaining agreement is going to be reset. I would not be setting foot. Again, we talk about Bryce Underwood, of course, from Michigan. And,
Didn't he get $10 million to come here?
That's right. That's right. $10 million. Again, look at what George Pickens, he was a first-round pick. So that's CBA. I'm telling you now, if I'm a sophomore, junior, I'm not leaving until my senior year. There's no reason to.
But it's also different because there's no guarantee that you're going to show out in the NFL the way you're showing out in college. You're not playing against the best of the best in college. You're playing against the best of the best like every few weeks. Like, if I'm Michigan, I got Ohio State this week, but the next 3 or 4 games I'm playing Central Michigan, Western Michigan, Akron. Like, I'm going to pay you millions of dollars to get us a national championship because I know you better than the majority of the people in this country. When it comes to the NFL, I'm not going to pay you millions of dollars to come play for my team when I don't know if you can beat some of the 30-year-old veterans we got here. Can you compete with a grandpa we got on this team while you sitting up here asking for all this money? It's different. Talent is very different in the NFL compared to college. So yes, if I want a national championship, which colleges are all built towards, yes, I'm gonna pay you to come here and play for us because I want to see my alumni school that I went to win a national championship. Yes, the alumni gonna pull these millions of dollars together to get you here because we want championships. The NFL, I'm not going to pay you millions of dollars to come play here because I don't know if you're going to be able to win me a regular season game, let alone a playoff game.
Here's the thing. Carson Beck's $4 million NIL salary is higher than these quarterbacks' base salaries next year. Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold, and Bryce Young.
But again, are you willing to waste your money on someone you don't know who can keep up with the talent that is in the NFL? Are you willing to do that? College is different. I can pay you all these millions because I know you better than half the teams that we about to play against. NFL, there's no guarantee in that. So am I really finna pay you $4 to $5 million a year, mess up my cap space, and you come in and end up like Jamarcus Russell? Or a Steve Young or a Troy Smith? Am I willing to make that gamble? No, I'm not.
Wow. Well, that's the thing. I understand the collective bargaining agreement as was set in place prior to this, but now it needs to really reset. And I think it's going. This is a great thing even on the NFL side. But I'm telling you right now, if I'm a college player, and as you're pointing out, Doc, there's no way I'm leaving. There's no incentive to leave early because, to your point, I mean, look at the individuals I just listed, right? That was 4 years for George Pickens, who was a stud at Georgia.
Yeah, but when it comes to the NFL, what if I pay you all this money and then you get hurt and now you out for this many years and then you don't bounce back because injuries are a thing that derails
Well, but
careers?
the same can be said here in college, right? He's got a brace on his arm right now.
It can, but the chances are of you coming across against tough teams every single week are highly unlikely in college because the way schedules are set up, you're not playing a tough team every single week. The risk is much higher in the NFL than it is in college.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's worth less. I would argue it's worth more because of that.
It's worth less because I don't want to pay you all this money, then you get hurt, and then that's it.
Then I'm not going to come to your team. Then you see what I'm saying? Like at that point, it's like
I'm agreeing with you. Don't leave college for that.
This is why, like, I was blown away by Caitlin Clark's decision to leave, but then, obviously with her endorsements and that type of thing, it made sense. She was already getting like $10 million or something in endorsements.
Yeah, I'm dipping.
Yeah. At that point, there's no reason to stay. Like, go pro, and then you get 4 or 5 months off now versus what she would have otherwise had to do. But so interesting. It is an interesting concept. I like what's happening in the sense of at the end of the day, the players will all ultimately get a larger piece of the pie, and I think it's that part of it has been long overdue because let's be honest, the portion of the pie that they're getting is the owners are not actually losing money. It's just what percentage are they making, right? So when they pay all the bills and all that stuff like that, they are still profitable. They are still in the black, if you will. The players, on the other hand, on a 53-person active roster, and then plus the practice squad, you could have been that guy who was, had an ACL tear, and you can still get a second chance now at a university and make more and then have a better option. The only problem I have with it is the kids that have 2 good games and say, okay, now my NIL value is at $1 million. I'm out. I'm redshirting the remainder of the year in order to keep my eligibility and then go get $4 million over the next 4 years at whoever was going to bid based on the 2 games and the commitment that I just made. Because as a coach, I can't coach that. I don't know who's here or not. But as far as just being profitable, love it. No problem at all. Don't care. Pay the kids. But at this point, it is clearly professional. But I hope what this does, we talk about development, right, with the NBA. The NBA is paying outlandish salaries, right? They're getting $33 million a year. That makes both of them look like, they're in the in the basement.
They are.
Right. So that part of it's a little bit different. So those kids are going to leave. But look at what someone like Zach Edey did over 4 years, who went from a 3-star prospect, goes to the NBA, is shooting lights out from three, albeit on a limited basis, but would have absolutely never had been, with the old process. He could have been a one and done and would have likely already been washed out of the league or overseas. Instead, he's contributing. And that's the part of this that I think needs to, that I hope a ripple effect, a positive ripple effect of NIL will be, is that it will incentivize kids to stay in school, and not just the school aspect of it, but as a byproduct, they will also continue their personal development, and both on and off the field. And we get, as fans, to your point, Doc, that risk factor becomes actually mitigated for those NFL teams, because now you have a larger sample size of that player. And therefore now you feel even more confident that, okay, this guy's not jumping after just one tremendous season, but no, he's played 4 years, and we feel very confident in what he can do. Something like Penix is actually a fantastic example of that there in Atlanta, because he got, kind of thrust right into things, if you remember. And, but at the same time, he started at Indiana, went to Washington. He was able to take advantage of those things. He had 2 ACLs?
Yeah.
And it still was able, you talk about risk, right? It doesn't get much more risky than a dude on 2 ACL tears. And he still went top 10.
Because he showed out in Washington. He deserved top 10.
So I guess, I think we can get more of those and everybody wins, right? I was hoping, and Gully pointed this out months ago when they drafted him to begin with. He was on the side of, it was a good pick. Well, based on what we saw, do you agree with that or disagree at this point, Doc?
It was a great pick, because look at your $120 million quarterback. Injured, out, came back, benched for the person you drafted. It panned out very well for Atlanta. Only thing I say they were dumb in was, you really sat up here and gave Kirk Cousins $120 million for 4 years. What made y'all think he deserved that? He is not a franchise quarterback. He's a great backup. Like, I would have signed him to be a backup. I'd have put Penix in as the starter, and Kirk Cousins would have got backup money. Shout out to Kirk Cousins' agent, because I need you in my life. Because what did you tell them to make them think like it would be a good idea to sign Kirk Cousins to 4 years and $125 million? What I think, like $85 million of it guaranteed.
Oh, wow. So I want to point this out. Unfortunately, I cannot escape the Mike Tomlin thing. We are on X, of course, and so many won't allow us to. The Super Bowl era NFL coaches to not win a playoff game for 8 consecutive seasons with the same team. That list includes Jim Mora from the New Orleans Saints, Marvin Lewis with the Bengals, of course, and Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin, I'm not saying move on from him right away, but you got like 1, maybe 2 more years before I'm like, all right, maybe we need to start exploring our options. I'm just saying, don't move on right away. Let's get him some more talent, and then we'll talk. After next year, see what Pittsburgh do in the draft, and then, okay, if he don't make nothing happen, then we focus on moving on to the next, coach that we can get here to bring us to a Super Bowl or at least a playoff win. Just not right away.
Mike Tomlin joins Marvin Lewis, Marty Schottenheimer, and Jim Morris Sr. as the only coaches to ever lose 6 straight playoff games, both straight up and against the spread. Oh.
You cannot make me hate Mike Tomlin.
I mean, these stats are I'm in disbelief, really, because
Me
I
too.
think what's hurting it, what's really kind of weighing on me in this, guys, is this Marvin Lewis stuff, because Marvin Lewis, like, I used to laugh, right? Like, it was, ha ha, we know he's not going to win in the playoffs, no big deal. But I mean, that was what, 16 years? And yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but at the same time, just give him 1 or 2 more years, man.
oof.
I get the frustrations, but give it give it 1 more year. After next year, if Tomlin don't come through, then I say we move on.
He's a glorified version of Marvin Lewis, who won a Super Bowl in 2009. Other than that year, he's done nothing more than a motivational speaker that thrives on mediocrity.
I mean, he does, but God dog it, man. I mean, the more you talk about everything they posted, the more it's like, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, you kind of right. But golly,
Dude, look, if you would have taken a poll for me before this show, and like who I would hire, right? The GM, he would have been near the top of that list. And now I'm sitting there like
second guessing.
He goes into the, kind of the, what is it? The Homer Simpson going into the bushes. Golly, did you hear any of that about Tomlin and Marvin Lewis?
No, I missed that.
Oh my gosh, dude. Oh, so check this out. The NFL head coaches to lose 6 consecutive playoff games with the same team: Steve Owen in the 30s, Marvin Lewis, Mike Tomlin. In addition to that, Mike Tomlin.
That's brutal, but all it takes is for Pittsburgh to look at the talent that they have around them. Look at
which ain't a lot.
And they'll get it together and they'll just perform better. Things that click. Basically, it'll take just 1 good year. That's it. It sounds familiar. You see what they're used to is, when I say there, and let me not ridicule everybody, but familiar. I mean, nowadays the idea of it is, once you start to go into that rut of losing, you don't work your way out of it. Once you go into this rut or the position where your team not performing well, they're not getting as high as they should. We're not getting into the postseason. We're not winning the postseason. Every team has this. It's 30 teams now. Every team has the same demand. As soon as we get it to a spot where, man, you're not producing, then you're going, like Doug Peterson got fired again. The man won a Super Bowl, and he didn't have 2 jobs since.
I'm glad you said that, because the stats are just pouring into the program, and unfortunately here, 18 additional head coaches have won playoff games since Mike Tomlin 28 head coaches have won a playoff game since Mike Tomlin's last playoff win. Also, the Steelers have been outscored 73-0 in the first quarter of their last 6 playoff games. They haven't scored a first quarter point in 4 straight. Marvin Lewis is the only coach with a longer losing streak in NFL playoff history at 7. Tomlin joins Marty Schottenheimer, Jim Morris Sr., and Steve Owen at 6. He's starting to lean on the wrong side of history.
Well, it's time to move on. Golly, I didn't want to say it.
Dude, I can't believe
Golly, why you keep throwing these stats at me, Double J? You hurting me, dog. Like,
they gonna come out, man. They come out like worms after a rain.
They do, man.
And
like,
they're sticking out like the worms out of that bear that I saw, the other day. Like, that was this is bad. 73-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
Who's the OC? Who's the DC?
His Super Bowl was 15 years ago. I think all of us are clinging to that.
Yeah, it's time to move on. It's a wrap. He out of there.
Think about scenario one, right?
One more year.
Wow.
Nobody's career can go in two. I'm sorry. I'm going to read this from Frank Michael Smith. He sent this to the show. He said, nobody's career can go in two more opposite paths than Mike Tomlin tonight. Scenario one, he loses and it's a funeral. Gets blasted for 8 straight seasons without a playoff win.
Mm-hmm.
He's labeled mediocre, overrated, and stale. He doesn't just win and shut everyone up. He does it, if he would have won the game, but he does it versus the arch rival on the road as a 10-point underdog. He's labeled as a fighter, expert motivator, and crafty football mind.
Right.
Yeah, honestly, it's how I would win. Yeah, it's time to move on. God darn it. Yeah, I give Tomlin one more year. If he don't do nothing next year, it's time to start.
Why give him one more year then? That's what I'm asking.
Because I want to see what the GM's gonna do in the draft. Because he didn't do like horrible this year. He just was a couple pieces away from being great. I just want to see what they're gonna do in the offseason. If they can get him a couple more pieces and address those offensive and defensive needs, I think they will be okay. They're not far off from being a championship contender. They're not far off of it. They just need a couple more pieces. That's what I said. One more year.
That's the issue. See, you got different tendencies, right? When it comes to a certain organization, they're not far off.
Mm-mm.
That's been the Steelers' legacy. They're never far off. They're never completely in disarray. Like when have the Steelers ever rebuilt significantly around the player?
After they lost Ben Roethlisberger, now they don't have a player to build around. That's why I said they just give him one more year. It's not his fault. He's just working with whoever the front office drafts. He's doing the best of what he got. It's not his fault. He's doing what he can with what he got. That's why I said give him one more year. Give him a couple more pieces, and then after y'all done gave him all y'all can give, or all that y'all are willing to give.
Oh, you done gave him the Anita Baker? Is what you're talking about?
Yes, sir. after you hit him with that young Baker, then you might have to start moving on.
Oh no.
You gotta give in the best that I got, and you gotta move on.
That's what they said they did.
That clearly wasn't the best of what they had because it wasn't enough. As I said, one more year. But if this was my team standpoint, like if Mike Tomlin was the coach for the Lions, I would probably be screaming like, "All right, it's time to move on. Let's get us into the coach." But this ain't my team, so I can afford to have that a little biased.
We'll see.
But at the end of the day, looking at the stats that Devil J so proudly put out to hurt my feelings, unfortunately,
it was just a contrast, man. It was just a contrast.
Hey, look, listen, it might be time to move on. I didn't want to say it because, like I said, I appreciate the black head coaches in the NFL because there's not very many of them. But at this point, Mike Tomlin, you did a great job. You got a Super Bowl. You've never had a losing season. Like, you're Hall of Famer in my book. It's time to, it might be time to move on. It's time to find another coaching venue because this well has run dry.
Do you blame him or do you blame Arthur Smith more?
I blame Arthur Smith because he's willing to let that team self-implode, and guess who the scapegoat is? Just like every other team. The scapegoat is always the head coach. I got somebody I can blame. You see everybody putting all these stats out about what Tomlin has done, but what has the GM done? What have they drafted to help Tomlin's case? What did they put out there to say, hey, look, we want to make this deep playoff run, so we're going to give you this, that? When have they done that? Never. Since they lost Ben Roethlisberger or since he retired, they haven't showed they care about anything else. They don't care. They got their scapegoat. We can get rid of Tomlin, and then we can start our rebuild the proper way.
My goodness. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to leave them alone, but it's interesting to me. I don't know if they could. He possibly could pull off blaming the offensive coordinator on this, but
You still got to flame the head coach. You're gonna flame the offensive coordinator because the head coach is there to manage people. So if your coordinator ain't calling what you want, hey, look, I'm stepping in. That's what Bill Belichick has done. That's what Pete Carroll has done. That's what Andy Reid has done. All the greats step in when the coordinators ain't getting it done. I left you in charge of this, and you ain't doing it right. So now it's my turn to step in and take over, so we can get this job done.
Well, sound like they need a new chef in the kitchen.
They do, which is why it's time to move on from Tomlin, and it's time to move on from whoever in the front office looking at scouting their talent. Because whoever's scouting their talent is not doing a good job.
Tell them, Doc. Like, this ain't your team, so you got the recipe and the remedy, huh?
Even if it was my team, I can peep how they scout. They ain't got nobody at the draft that's gonna help their cause. It's time to move on from Tomlin and whoever picking y'all people at the draft. But I just want Tomlin to have one more year. I'm not ready to move on from Tomlin yet. But looking at the stats, it's time to move on. But I don't want him to move on, man. It's like an end of an era. I'm still holding on to it. I'm not ready for the Tomlin era to be over with. But it might be time. That's what I said. I'm being biased in that situation, so I'm not the best person to talk to about this. But it might be time to move on, dog. I don't want him to, but it might be time to. Tomlin might be done in Pittsburgh. I hate to say it, but it might be over with.
Well, I want to point out here that there was another team that lost tonight, and it was, of course, the LA Chargers. Not only that,
it might be time to move on from the LA Chargers too, man. Harbaugh ain't just
Yeah, he was not their saving grace. It's time to move on from the Chargers. The Chargers are not what everybody keep trying to hype them up to be.
They were outscored 32-6 after the dirty bubble kidnapped Jim Harbaugh in the, of course, the Nickelodeon broadcast.
Oh yeah, that man. I don't like those Nickelodeon broadcasts.
Oh, what? After the dirty bubble kidnapped him.
I just had to point that out there, that there may be some larger powers at play here.
Maybe the correlation, huh?
But is this going to be some sweet chin music for vengeance in the form of Joe Burrow in a year from now? And I know Cincinnati's just a mere extension from Columbus. As you stated, Gully, it's a much easier drive versus going to, of course, Cleveland. Or, well, where are they going now? Shaker Heights? Where?
Brook Park.
Yep.
Brook Park Browns.
Oh. Could you imagine? Terrible.
Imagine what?
No, I'm trying to think of other teams. Like the vacating of downtown, and I get it because of its proximity to the practice facility, but even like the Bears, as an example, are talking about going, I guess I would call it west. But for context, their training facility is in Lake Forest, which is north. So I just couldn't see them going that close to the Wisconsin border, as an example.
They bet not.
Yeah.
You gonna meet them there?
You said what?
I said you gonna meet them there.
I'm pulling up.
You gonna pull up?
Pull up on me, nah.
Wow. So it says Bengals fans are somewhere right now absolutely livid that the committee chose the Chargers and Texans over them. So what are we thinking here? Like, people really think
What you mean they chose the Chargers and Texans over them?
That's who they chose to play the first round. I'm not mad at it. I'm not, because on paper it was supposed to be a better game than what it was. So on paper, which everybody looks at when they're putting this shit together, this is supposed to be a great ass game. I'm sorry.
Whoa, Doc, what are
I'm
we
sorry.
doing?
My bad. My
Doc.
bad. I'm sorry.
Yo.
It's supposed to be a great game. My bad.
Yeah, all right.
My bad.
And
It's
we already
supposed to be
had
a great game.
Yep.
On paper, it's supposed to be a great game, but it turned out being a crap show. So
Well, as you see here, Rex Ryan said, I never realized the Chargers got a bye. They're playing Houston. And of course, Joe Mixon post game smoking on that Rex Ryan bye week pack.
that's za.
And of course, the rumor mill suggesting that there could be reunited being between Rex Ryan and the New York Jets.
For what? To lose in the not make the playoffs again? Okay, that's cool.
Well, again, this dirty bubble thing seems to be really gaining some momentum.
Yo, they legit went scoreless after that happened, huh?
Yeah.
And so this is from Schlosser. This would actually explain why the Chargers have completely fallen apart since the middle of the second quarter. Oh, dude, I want to play this so bad. And then you just see him smirking as he hovers over Jim Harbaugh and then takes off with him in the bubble, as shown here across midfield. This is fantastic. Yes, the dirty bubble trending on Twitter right now. Oh man. Well, you know what? It is 2,197 days and counting since the Chargers have last won a playoff game.
Hey, you know what else?
Oof.
It's been 1,189 days since Ohio State beat Michigan. So let's go.
Hey, in 8 more days, will that even matter?
I mean, I don't care. We won the national championship last year. As long as we beat Ohio State, that's all that matters to me.
My point is, that's something we could have brought up. The playoff.
Texas went out like some sap suckers.
How?
Hey, is the SEC overrated?
They are very overrated.
Is it time to really start pointing out the obvious here that they've had in years past a 50% chance of winning? They've been given a month to prepare for those games, and then they were able to make the most of them.
Well, not anymore. The Big Ten is looking like it's the conference to beat.
Yeah. See, having a month to prepare for those games, I don't see having a month to prepare for the games was an advantage unless has proven this year your opponent got back to work earlier than you did. You get what I'm saying? Like they started their shift about an hour before you did.
They already prepped and ready to go.
Exactly, and that's
you gotta get ready.
So the point I'm making with that is the top 4 seeds don't need a bye week when you're starting the playoff a month after the conference, after the regular season, and if your team has a bowl game.
They should play right away.
Even if you don't play right away, you should give the top 4. You should allow them to host a playoff game. So the legacy BCS needs to move closer to the championship. In terms of what games are they're allotted. So what should have happened is these the top 4 seeds should have been playing last week at home, respectively, And the teams that had to play in should have been playing a week ahead of that. If you want to if you want to make a bye week make sense, because basically they sat too long. I don't necessarily know that the SEC is overrated.
No, they overrated.
No, I don't know that they overrated so much as, all right, so when I say overrated, in my opinion, when I'm thinking of overrated, like they're significantly not as good as advertised. That's different from me, in my opinion, saying, yo, hey, it's a squad that's almost as competitive as you. So overrated is like they outclass everybody. I think it's a matter of the Big Ten was significantly underrated.
When they just had the national champion there.
But before that national championship hit, the Big Ten was not looked at on the same scope as the SEC.
Correct.
Couldn't we have made the case, right? What was Michigan ranked at the end of the season?
I don't even think that did they end up.
They weren't ranked this season. They weren't ranked at all.
No, they had fell out. They had fell off. Right? They started. I mean, they had fell all the way.
They weren't ranked at all this season. They were.
Yeah, they were.
The team that
in the national championship. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of this, I'm talking about my bad. I mean, at the end of the season, they weren't ranked.
Correct.
They were unranked.
Correct. The end of the season, unranked. Yes.
Yeah.
So they lost to Indiana, of course, on the road. They smoked Northwestern, and then they beat Ohio State, and then they beat Alabama. I mean, You're telling me like this is one of the quote unquote worst teams in the Big Ten. And
they beat the SEC.
Exactly. They beat an SEC team, not just any, right? One that was up in arms.
Hold on. We act like that's Nick Saban's Alabama.
What do you mean? Half the roster is Nick Saban's Alabama.
Nick Saban been gone from Alabama for how many years?
3 years.
2.
Well, now 2. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Years, yeah.
So even if you have Nick Saban's talent at Alabama, do you still have everything about his essence and the way and the process or what have you? No, you don't.
No, because he don't coach. Everybody don't coach like Nick Saban coach.
But right. D. Gully, they're ranked.
Saban coaches like Bill Belichick. It's very military driven.
What you were saying, Double J?
This is still the 11th ranked team in the country at the time.
Fair enough. I will acknowledge that, but I'll acknowledge that in the way of saying, yo, the Big Ten is actually more underrated than you think. Because look at the defending national champ, though it had a season where it struggled. It beat, which may very well be the national champion, right? If you look at Michigan season concluded with
a dub over,
a dub over Ohio State. The team that looks as strong as they look, the dub that they got over them. This Michigan team beat that Ohio State team. That Ohio State team may very well be the national champion. They beat Alabama inside of a bowl game. They beat Alabama in a neutral site game. Let's be honest with you. What we come to understand is one of the biggest advantages that the SEC had is that because of the prestige that everybody, even haters of the SEC gave, they even acknowledged, is that the SEC is the toughest football played in the country.
It was until NIL happened.
Right. There we go. So now that's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily know that they overrated. I just think other schools and other conferences, they're now catching up. Like the SEC still SEC. Like now. LSU is still, Alabama and LSU and Georgia are still going to be pretty tough. I'm telling you, coincidentally, this season, NIL had less to do with why all 4 of those teams sat home so much as momentum. These guys, they've been off for 6 weeks. Come on, you ever took a 6-week vacation at work?
Yeah, I wish.
Exactly.
No kidding.
That's called FMLA. That's called something happened to your body or your family, and you need.
Oh yeah, I had that when I broke my ankle. I was off for 5.5 months.
Oh yeah, so 6 weeks after that, how did it feel for you to run again?
Did you get full pay in that?
Horrible.
Right. So
horrible.
So what I'm saying, so 6 weeks from November 20th or November 20th, November 27th, before December was the last time those guys touched the football in an organized game. And now
it'd be a little rusty.
We in mid-January. Yeah, they all gonna be rusty. And then compound that with the fact that the team that they're playing against, they know they desperate. They know that when I say desperate, they know they backs against the wall. They already looked at us, okay, well, all right, we the underdog, but we don't feel that way. We feel like we the champs, and they got momentum. And then, like you say, we got Ohio State. They out there beating everybody. How many teams in orange and white do we need to play before you stop sending the orange and white team to play Ohio State? They beat Texas. They beat Tennessee. Oh my goodness! And then
in Tennessee, I thought they was gonna do their thing, but Tennessee didn't. They forgot how to football.
They forgot how to football. Oh man, listen, they took over the city. They took over the bars. They took over the restaurants when they came to the Horseshoe, and they got a cold smack in the you know where. Oh, and that was a long 5.5 hour drive home.
They rode home quiet.
Man, quiet. Hey, oh, Sloopy, Halo. Oh, hey.
Quiet.
They heard that all the way
home. I know they were upset.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But that's it, man. That's it. You make that adjustment. You start the playoffs sooner. You start it sooner. So that way, if you do give the top four a bye week, it's still in comparison to like the NFL bye week. I mean, you only have 1 week after playing before, you're right back in competition again. Imagine if the NFL had the same type of bye week system, right?
It wouldn't be fair.
You think the Chiefs will still have momentum if they got to play a Texans team that just won a game? But Mahomes and company been sitting home for like 4 or 5 weeks.
They're gonna be rested. They're gonna get out there like, what have we been missing?
Exactly. That's it, man. That's it. You got to start the playoffs sooner, and you got to give the top four. No, you got to start it sooner, and you got to get a top four home game, and that's it. Because I think with that advantage, with those true advantages, then the tough teams continue to look tough, right? So there was a reason why Georgia finished the season where they did. And I don't think that was a mistake. And I don't think that was anything about the SEC being overrated. I don't think it was anything about
SEC ain't where it used to be no more.
Well, yeah, it's not what it used to be. But let's say I don't think it has as much to do with them being overrated. They played really good. They played really good ball this year. The conference is still tough.
I still think the SEC is overrated, bro.
You got it.
I do.
I do.
It's just the strength of schedule too. They give these SEC teams a lot of easy teams to beat up on.
Bro, man, see, you walk right into that, bro. Oh my God.
But they do though. Am I lying?
No, you're not lying. You're not lying. What you're overlooking is the fact that Ohio State's schedule is filled with Youngstown State and Bowling Green and the Citadel and Richmond Spiders. Ohio State is full of those teams. Their schedule is just as cupcake as Alabama's.
But they never gave the Big Ten the respect that they deserved. So why did this cupcake SEC team get respect when they play just as weak a schedule as we are?
You know what? Because
and we beating y'all when it comes down to the playoffs.
You brought it up a few moments ago. The real key to parity has been NIL. Absent NIL, historically, teams that traveled or dared to play the SEC usually came up short when you talk about coming across the conference to play them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ohio State had a horrible track record against SEC teams in the days before NIL. How many national championships did we come up against an SEC team and get embarrassed?
A bunch. They did win one.
Times, right.
They did win one.
So how overrated was the SEC if every time they played a Big Ten school, they smashed them in the mouth? And in the case of we talking about a national championship game, it is largely a neutral site field, and compound the fact that when I say Ohio State specifically, we know that Ohio State, among all the other teams in college in Division I-A football, they travel as well as anybody. You put that game in Juneau, Alaska, Ohio State gonna have half scarlet and gray. You put that game anywhere. So Ohio State is a team that travels well. So even if where's the Sugar Bowl played, right? Sugar Bowl played in Louisiana, right?
Then they moved to Arizona, I believe.
All right, but I'm saying, all right. So even if, let's say it's a game that's played in an SEC stadium, and their opponent is not the, so they playing a game they're playing a game in Georgia, but they're not playing Georgia. You follow what I'm saying? They're playing like Tennessee or whatever else. It's still kind of like home to an SEC team. So the SEC team that's Ohio State is playing sort of feel like they at home and like home field advantage, if you will. I'm saying that even if you meet them nearby in their backyard, Ohio State still historically has had trouble with SEC teams until NIL, like you brought up. So when Ohio State played cupcake teams, and this is why I had been very critical of Ohio State, is because they don't have the ability, or they did not showcase the ability that when it came time for crunch time, when it came time for showtime, for you to arrive in the moment. 42-14 versus Florida. 24-7 or 24-10 versus LSU. Somehow we snuck our way into the national championship in the pandemic year because we didn't even qualify by our own committee standards because we never played a Big Ten championship game.
That's why I don't get why they got in the first place.
Right.
Y'all ain't played nobody, and they instantly gave y'all a playoff spot.
Think about it. And then look, how many times in the classic example, me and Barbershop Jay bring this up all the time. The year 2016, when Penn State shocked us and beat us, and in doing so, Penn State ended up going to the Big Ten championship. By virtue of Penn State going to the Big Ten championship, because of beating us, that improved our strength of schedule to a degree that they put us in the playoff. And what happened? It wasn't the SEC team. It was Clemson that smacked us in the face.
ACC.
Right. So those things there, despite the kind of insular nature that the SEC tends to have, and by being insular in that way, they can pump their chests up more and prop themselves up as being stronger than they are. Usually, when you stretch them out and you expand it, when you stretch that out, or you have them have to go travel or go see somebody else, there's usually more parity there. And then sometimes there's the what we call an upset, where a SEC team don't perform well versus a school that's a non-SEC. We've seen it in Michigan. We've seen it with Ohio State when they played Alabama. Remember when we first had the playoff, Ohio State was the first champion.
They beat Alabama
They beat Alabama on way to beating Oregon to win that national title, right? So we are subject to surprise, folks. Any Big Ten team, Big Ten football is subject to surprise. What we have to have is parity in terms of more ability to attract players of any caliber from across the country. And you got to be able to meet on neutral sites. When you do that, you'll find, I don't necessarily know you'll find that SEC is overrated because they're not getting whooped on like that. They're not getting smacked. They're losing games. Okay, they're losing games within 2 touchdowns, maybe, or within a touchdown or so. They're losing, but they're not getting smacked. They're not getting beat. They ain't getting 52-7. They're not getting 42.
I only say they overrated because everybody just think the SEC gonna smack everybody they go up against, and it's not the case. It's not the case. That's all I'm saying. That's why they're overrated. I'm not saying that I disagree with anything you're saying. I'm just saying the only reason I think they're underrated is because literally it don't matter who Georgia or Alabama or now a Texas play. They just think, oh, what's the SEC? They finna smack. Right. But that's not always the case. Y'all got to let go of the brand of the SEC. The brand of the SEC ain't how it used to be back in the day.
And you know what? On that, I could agree. That yes,
like they were at one point in time.
every bit of way, every bit of how you phrased it and what you said. I agree with you 100%.
That's how it was. Like back in the day, you had to fear the SEC, but now it's not the same. So when somebody said, "Oh, they playing Ole Miss," okay, and they're not the same SEC they used to be. They playing the LSU. LSU ain't been the same since Joe Burrow and them. Like they don't have the same respect.
Imagine that. I feel like metaphorically speaking, they've been kind of like the bullies, and they still big and they tough. But imagine when you go, they beat up on somebody, and somebody smack a bully in the face or punch a bully in the mouth, and people be like, "Oh, you about to get killed, bro." But then you realize
Don't nothing happen.
No, the bully realized, yo, I'm gonna have to put the tools to him, but he hurt me. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, you beat 300 when he threw the spear and he cut him off, and then they realized, oh, you can bleed. You see what I'm saying? Like the SEC is realizing, oh, wait a minute, hold on. We are who we are who wait a minute, they ain't who we think they are. That's what they figure out. Michigan ain't who we think they are. Ohio State ain't who we think they are. Penn State ain't who we think they are, and it's great because now we'll get to see these teams. I think it'll reflect well in how they deal with each other before they reach an SEC team.
So
it's really put a tougher schedule on the map.
It was this quote from Iron Man 2. The main villain, after he got into a battle with Tony Stark and really got beat Tony Stark down, he said, and I'm only comparing this because it's how I feel about the SEC.
Go ahead.
He said that man will cease to believe in God if you can make him bleed. Same rules apply to the SEC. They were considered the gods of college, and now that it's been shown that average man can make God bleed, we don't believe in the SEC no more. They're not as tough. They're not as scary as everybody thought they were before, because now they're actually losing.
Yeah.
To teams who they said don't worry about. Oh, it's just such and such. Don't worry about them. But no. We done showed y'all time and time again that the SEC is not as tough as everybody believes. They're not the gods of football anymore. They've been bled. People on national TV. Ole Miss beat out Alabama 28-7. Like, if you can make God bleed, people will cease to believe, and that's what's going on right now. The SEC is not the SEC no more. They're getting cracked by all these low bottom tier. I'm not saying they're bottom tier, but
yeah, you are.
They've been they've been viewed as bottom tier. They've been viewed as bottom tier teams, and now they're getting smacked by these bottom tier teams, and people are like, "What's going on with the SEC?"
Right. I see. Hey, it's like when a couple years ago, Western Conference Finals, Denver versus LA, the Lakers. Mike Malone, coach, he had I'm paraphrasing because I don't say it right. The Lakers won, the Nuggets won game 1. And effectively the way the press wrote it was like the Lakers lost game 1. So they'll figure it out. They'll get it together. They'll be all right. The Nuggets won game 2. And the public, the media, the press was like, well, the Lakers lost game 2. So it ain't got nothing to do with what the Nuggets doing. It's got everything to do with what LA ain't doing. And if LA can get themselves together, they'll be all right. And the Nuggets proceeded to beat the brakes off of them. Right? I see what you're saying. Like, no, SEC, no.
It's not what it is no more. This ain't that. Like, you might have beat on us back in the day, but now guess what, bully? We bullies too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it ain't the same. That's why I'm saying they're overrated, because everybody still thinks, oh, you should be so scared of the SEC. Why? You got teams literally running to the Big Ten and all these other conferences and skipping the SEC. Why? Because the SEC was not what it used to be.
Well, and it's interesting because the most successful SEC team was one of the newest.
But they just got there. But that's because they all fed into the SEC is the prominent conference to be in. And look, what SEC team is left?
Well, and this is why it's interesting. I could make the case, and I said this before, that they waited just a year or two too long. That the idea of the mega conference doesn't necessarily make sense, especially with these automatic qualifiers. That now you could be top dog in a Mountain West and, of course, reap all of the benefits and from a, the way the Pac-12 at one point did, and still get your auto qualifier into the big dance, if you will. And so why go through the gauntlet potentially and find yourself looking on the outside in and having to constantly compete against those guys?
Also, I feel like it's a scouting thing too. Like people are gonna go to the schools that they feel is gonna get them the most looks for the draft. And with the SEC being the team, the conference that it's the SEC, recruiters are gonna show up. So I think that's what's got the SEC holding on right now. We're gonna get the most scouts coming here to watch our games, no matter if we play at Akron or Oakland Community College. They're gonna come see us play because they want to see what we're gonna do and potential draft stock. So yes, I'm gonna go to a school where scouts are more likely to show up to. That's the only reason the SEC is holding on right now. It's no longer, we're the most dominant. Now it's this is where a majority of the people in the NFL come from. I want to get looked at because I want to go within the first 2 rounds. So I'm gonna go to a school like a Big Ten or a SEC and even an ACC because they were once a dominant conference at one point in time. But outside of those 3 conferences, the SEC don't matter no more. Now it's been opened up. The door has been bust open. It's no longer just the SEC gatekeeping all these players. It's over with now. NIL has been like, you know what? I can play over here and make all this money, and then I can get other people to come over here and play and make all this money. And we can beat those teams that they said we couldn't beat. So you know what? Let's do it. Let's beat the SEC. They're not dominant as it used to be. It's over with.
No arguments here. Gully still is an SEC apologist.
I mean, I get where Gully coming from because he does make strong points, but at the end of the day, it's not the same no more. They're the bullies are now getting bullied. There's not a SEC team in the Natty, and how long has that been since there's not been at least one SEC team in the Natty? Don't worry, I'll wait.
Actually, that's a great question.
How many years has it been since the national championship hasn't featured at least one SEC team?
2 years.
Exactly my point. And the NILs are relatively new. So the SEC is losing its grip on college football.
Because of NIL. And look at Carson Beck, Gully. You might have missed that.
He going to the U. He understands it. I can still get my money and go top 2 in the not top 2, but first round or early second round, and I can play for Miami and I have to go through the tough schedules that the SEC have to face. Or I can go over here and go through a cakewalk and play people like UFC, Southern Florida, and all these other people and show out and get all these stats. And then I can go to the NFL and I got my money in college and now I'm getting money in the NFL and I didn't have to kill myself playing all these so-called tough cornbread fed SEC teams.
Well, and that's the thing. Gully, you may have missed that whole section on Carson Beck. $4 million is actually going to make more than not only George Pickens' entire NFL career up to this point, but also more than next year's 4 starting quarterbacks.
Whoa.
Because the NFL and their rookie contracts. But like I was telling Double J earlier, why would you pay these rookies all this money when there's no guarantee they can show out in the NFL? Because college is different than the NFL. NFL players ain't playing what's that college? IABs and like I said, the Southern Floridas and the Akrons. Like, yeah, I'm gonna pay you $10 million to beat on all these local college teams because that's gonna get us to the Natty. The Natty brings the alumni and the colleges money. So yes, I'm gonna pay you $10 million to bring our school some money. But when it comes to the NFL, I'm not gonna give you all that money and you just not produce nothing. I'm not gonna give you $10 million to come play here for 2 years and you don't do nothing. Like, there's no guarantee that you're gonna show out in college in the NFL like you did in college. Because at the end of the day, the NFL is the best of the best out of the whole world. This is the best you're gonna get. College is not the best of the best. College is, you got some schools where you play good enough to come play for this small school, but you didn't play good enough to get to this big school. But guess what? We still got to play those big schools, and we gonna get our butts whooped. But that's not the NFL. It's not like a bunch of butt teams. Like, it's the NFL. You can say what you want about NFL players, calling them dirt, yada yada yada. But guess what? Out of all the players in college, it's only 2% of the college out of all 100 and I don't know how many college teams that have a football team. It's only 2% of those that make it. 2%. I'm not giving you $10 million to come play for me, and out of that 2% that I just pulled out of college, there's no guarantee you're going to make it. Because out of that 2% in the league, only I think it's like 1.5 or 1.7 make it to year 2 or 3. After that, now you're looking at 0.5, 0.4% of who I took out of college still in the NFL. So why would I pay you all that money when only like 0.4% of y'all are going to make it to have long careers in the NFL? It makes no sense. I'm not paying you all that money. So rookie contracts are never going to change because of that simple basis I just gave you. It's never going to change. I'm not paying no rookie no $10 million for 1 year when there's no guarantee you're going to make it out of that 1 year. Now I'm just throwing away money. We rich. We don't like throwing away money. Alumni, yeah, I can get with you. I can get with Double J. I can get with Barbershop. We can all put money in a pot and we can get this dude to come play for our team. We don't lose no money. Whether you perform or not, that's just a little money because we all invested in this one player. But in the NFL, it's different. I'm taking away from the potential players we going to have here for years. If I pay you this much money, that's less money I can play a Aiden Hutchinson, or I can pay a Jared Goff, or I can pay a Patrick Mahomes. I put all my money in this faith in this dude we just drafted, and there's no guarantee he's going to show out. That's why they're never going to pay rookies that much money.
Never.
If you get what I'm saying. I didn't mean to go on a rant, but that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, never again. Think about the last time. It sort of made sense. Because at a point where, remember, rookie contracts was crazy. Remember, I think Sam Bradford was the last rookie contract that had that super.
He got broke off. Sam Bradford was the highest paid bench quarterback you ever seen.
Yes. Like, yo, this system is broken. Like, wait a minute. And you think quarterbacks who proven themselves in the league there was a ceiling by which they could go, because if they proved themselves to be better than Sam Bradford, but not Tom Brady, they still was not getting half of what Sam Bradford got. So,
but see, now this is where, again, I'm going to kind of interject. There's got to be a happy medium, right? Because I think at the end of the day, the league ultimately is a beneficiary of this or the ultimate benefactor, because now you get kids that are willing to stay in school for the 4 years and truly develop. So there's no rush for them to necessarily leave. Not when you're getting 4 bands in this case. And then you could potentially get a far better look and more complete of a profile on them from a scouting vantage point. So now there's the possibility of getting the right fit, in which we talk about that quite frequently. Tony Dungy's mentioned it, of course. But the opposite is occurring in basketball. Well, why? Well, there's, of course, less roster spots. So you're talking about $33 million versus a combined $7 million if you were going to do George Pickens and Carson Beck here. So that, I think, is something that they need to take a much harder look at that on what's occurring in the NBA space, because it hasn't been talked about nearly enough, with the kids kind of rushing to get there.
But people rushing the NBA to get there. You know how many one and done stories you hear about in the NBA? Like, look at John Wall and AD and all of them. Look at that Duke and Kentucky team. All of those starters are one and done. Look at Zion Williamson. He played 2 years. Never mind. But still, look at all those players. Look at them. One and done. You know how many one and done stories you hear in the NBA? I mean,
that's what I'm saying. But
look
if you're
at
getting
Bronny.
as much money
One and
as
done.
you are now, you may not be in as much of a hurry, but I still believe, unfortunately, it's such that scale is so lopsided. But that's one of the bigger portions that's not being discussed enough, is that the NBA is not meant to be a developmental league.
That's what the G League is for.
Right. So these kids rushing after a year, there's no way they're complete, they're a finished product. Even guys like Ben Simmons would have fared, he may have made his money, but look at the rut that he's been in.
Ben Simmons gave up on himself, though. That's on him. He didn't want to be a better player.
Wow. Yeah, $50 million. I don't know how much I'm listening to anybody else either.
Simple as that. He didn't want to be a better player. He got in his head because he listened to all the crap talk they was talking about him on the internet. He's soft. He listened to all. He let the outside world get in his head. Now he can't play. That's on him. You didn't want to work on your jump shot. We ain't talking about you because you didn't want to work on your jump shot. At the end of the day, it's on you. Don't hate the media for talking all this mess about you when you didn't want to work on your game. And the only reason we talking about you is because what I just said. You didn't want to develop and work on your game. That's your fault.
Gully, I'll go around the board here, starting with Doc. Any final thoughts from you on this evening's games that have been played and what's going on tomorrow?
What's going on tomorrow is the Bills are going to win. And the Lions are going to go to the Super Bowl. And guess who we playing? We're going to play the Chiefs and we're going to win. That's all I got to say. Go Lions, baby. Let's go.
D. Gully, any final thoughts from you?
Well, you've seen it all, heard it all. They're gonna fix college football. Looking forward to what they brew up for changes to the playoff format. I know this was embarrassing. Like the middle of the road teams are represented, but they're also playing the best football. But so I'm looking forward to seeing what the changes are. That discussion. As far as the NFL goes, like I said, it's about 5 legit Super Bowl favorites, in my opinion, in this year's playoff. I don't remember a time where it was that strong. And of the 5, one of them is not the Minnesota Vikings, who are also 14-3.
Fluke.
However you call it, right? 14-3. And that may very, very well be the case. But the point is, it's 5 teams that in any given year, if these teams were not in comparison with the other 5, they'd be Super Bowl champions. And I've said that before. So this is probably the toughest pick 'em I could ever think of in terms of NFL football. So it's exciting football. But other than that, I got nothing, man. Except for maybe seeing you tomorrow night after Netflix on Raw. Or Raw on Netflix. Yeah, bro.
I'm happy Raw's on Netflix. I'm so happy.
Well, Doc, since you partake, you might have to join us on a Turnbuckle episode as well.
Yeah, I just recently got back into wrestling. I left it years ago because the storyline just kind of trash, and I never came back to it. But watching the Turnbuckle, and now that it's on Netflix and watching it on Netflix, I'm like, you know what? I should have never left. Now I got to catch up.
Absolutely. And so with that being said, yes, there's plenty to talk about. We've been called out, appears by Mercedes Moné. And we will dive into that along with Vince McMahon's case being closed and one step closer to potential Brock Lesnar returning. So with that being said, for my guys, D. Gully and Doc, I, of course, am your host, Double J. And as always, if you really want to know what's going on in the shop,
come to the shop. Walk-ins are always welcome. You'll get it right one of these days, Double J.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
We got to put some prompts up on the screen for him to read.
Go get a cue card for you. Right?
Put some prompts up on the screen. Like, where's Mrs. Alva at? Maybe she can grab some big flashcards for you to read.
To play us out. I don't even know what that means. To play us out. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
He got Quest live in the background. They finna play us out to some smooth jazz.
Yeah. For sure.
Oh man! All right, and for the
we'll see y'all later,
and everybody else, we'll see you on Monday night.